Welcome. You are listening to Your Next Step, Pulse Forward podcast. Today's topic is about how do you make a great campaign? A how-to guide on building or reinventing your campaign planning development. Listen to the deep dive discussion and learn about the secret sauce in creating a great campaign. To listen to more of these content, add my LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter or X accounts to get updates on upcoming podcasts. All right, now, let's listen into the discussion.
All right, so you want to know how to really make a marketing campaign that works?
Yeah.
We're digging deep into that today. We're going to be looking at this guide, What Makes a Great Campaign, by Gary Pascasio.
Sounds good.
You had mentioned you were kind of looking for tips on planning these things and executing them.
Yeah, it's always, I don't know, it feels like there's something missing.
Right, and he keeps mentioning this secret sauce throughout the guide, so we're going to see if we can figure out exactly what he means by that as we go along.
Yeah, the secret sauce.
Yeah, he makes it sound pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
So I think a good place to start is why even launch a campaign in the first place?
All right.
What is it all about?
You know, before we even get to like the actual content and design and stuff, Gary really stresses figuring out your purpose.
Okay, so like what's the big why behind it?
Yeah, like what's the long-term vision? Where do you want to be?
It's like, you know, if you set off on a trip without knowing where you're going,
Exactly.
you could end up anywhere, right?
Yeah, you're just driving around aimlessly.
Okay, so purpose first, and then
you got to set some goals.
Goals, okay.
Yeah, like what are the actual steps to get to that vision, to fulfill that purpose?
So he uses the example of increasing sales, right?
It does, yeah.
So your purpose is to, you know, boost those numbers.
Yeah.
And your goals are, how are you going to actually make that happen?
Right. What are the specific things you're going to do?
Right, but honestly, sometimes I get purpose and goal mixed up.
Yeah.
What's the difference, really?
Okay, think of it like this. The purpose is like the heart and soul of your campaign.
Okay.
It's that driving force, the reason it even exists. Let's say you want to increase awareness about sustainable fashion.
All right.
That's your why, your purpose. Then your goal becomes the what you want to achieve.
Like getting people to switch to eco-friendly brands.
Exactly. The article uses the example of increasing sales of a product that's the purpose.
Ah, I see.
The goals are the specific steps you take to make those sales happen.
Like launching a marketing campaign or offering discounts.
Exactly.
Okay, so the purpose is the big picture why.
That's it.
And the goal is the specific what you're aiming for. Right, but then it gets even more specific than that, right?
Yeah, it's not enough to just say, we want to sell more.
Right, of course.
That's where objectives come in.
Ah, okay.
And Gary's a big fan of this thing called the SMART method.
SMART, okay.
Yeah, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. It's like a roadmap for setting objectives that are clear, actionable, and, well, smart.
I like it. I feel like I've heard of that before, SMART goals.
Oh, yeah.
But I always thought it was kind of, I don't know.
Generic.
Yeah, a little generic. Like, how do you actually apply that?
Right, so Gary uses this example. Let's say you're launching a new line of, I don't know, high-tech hiking boots.
High-tech hiking boots, all right?
And you want to make a SMART objective around that.
Okay.
So it might be something like, sell 5,000 pairs of these boots.
All right.
Through targeted online ads and partnerships with outdoor retailers in, say, the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Aiming for a 15% market share increase.
Wow. Okay.
All within 6 months.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's not just sell more boots.
Right,
it's like, we're going to do it this way. This is the number. This is the location. This is the time.
It's actionable.
Yeah, it's actionable.
You can actually work towards that.
Exactly.
But there's another layer here that Gary brings up.
Okay.
He talks about the background and rationale for the campaign.
So it's like, what's the story behind it?
Yeah,
right?
like, why are you doing this now? What's the context? What makes this campaign unique?
So it's not just about the product itself. It's about the why now.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. But a truly great campaign, it's got to have more than just hitting those numbers, right?
Totally agree.
It needs a story, a reason for being.
Exactly. And that's where your background and rationale come in.
Okay, so like the why behind the what.
You got it. This is where you paint the picture, tell that story behind your campaign. Why is this important? What problem are you solving? The article really dives into this.
Okay.
A strong why builds a narrative that connects with people.
I love that it's like setting the stage,
Mm-hmm.
giving your campaign that depth and meaning by now.
Exactly. It's about giving it meaning, or a reason for being.
Right. I mean, you could have the best product in the world, but if you don't tell people why they should care.
It's not going to resonate.
Right.
No one's going to pay attention.
Okay, so we've got our purpose, we've got goals, we've got these super smart objectives.
Yeah.
We've got a good story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? Research.
Absolutely. Research.
Hit the books.
Gary really emphasizes, knowing your terrain before you set off.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So in-depth product research, understanding its features, the benefits, even potential weaknesses.
So knowing your product inside and out.
Yeah, warts and all.
Not just the good stuff.
Right, and that's just the start.
Okay.
There's also market research. You got to know your competitors. What are they doing? What are the trends in the industry?
Okay.
And most importantly, who is your target audience?
Right, because you can have the most brilliant campaign in the world.
Exactly.
If it doesn't reach the right people, it's not going to do anything.
It's going to fall flat.
So understanding your audience is key.
Data. You need to get the competitive landscape, the trends, and most importantly, know your audience.
Their needs, their pain points, all of that.
Exactly. What are their aspirations? The more you know, the better equipped you are to make a campaign that speaks to them.
Right. It's like putting on your detective hat.
Yeah.
Gathering all the clues before you even start writing the story.
I like that analogy.
Key.
Yeah, and all this research, it takes time. Which brings us to another important element. Setting a realistic time frame for your campaign.
Campaigns aren't meant to last forever, right?
They have a life cycle.
They need a clear beginning and end.
Yeah, Gary's a big advocate for setting clear launch dates,
Okay.
follow-up schedules, key milestones.
So basically mapping out the entire campaign from start to finish.
Yeah.
But even with a great story and knowing our audience, we need to be real about time, don't we?
We do.
So how do we set a time frame that keeps us on track but doesn't feel rushed?
The article has some good stuff about this. Setting a duration, a time frame for your campaign.
Okay.
Having that clear time frame from the start helps you stay organized, set realistic goals.
And track your progress.
Yes, and also identify those key moments during the campaign.
Oh, I see.
The launch date, follow-up activities, all those deadlines.
So like a roadmap with milestones along the way.
You got it.
Finish.
Yeah, and what's interesting is he emphasizes contingency planning.
Contingency plan.
He calls it the special sauce for handling the unexpected.
Okay, is that just a fancy way of saying, expect the unexpected?
Well, it's more than that.
Okay.
Gary actually quotes Murphy's Law in his guide.
Murphy's Law.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Oh, I know that one.
It's about acknowledging that things don't always go according to plan.
Right, so this ties into the whole secret sauce idea.
It does.
It's all about being prepared.
Absolutely.
So what does that actually look like, this contingency planning?
It means thinking ahead, anticipating problems, brainstorming solutions, having a plan B, or even a plan C.
So if things go sideways,
Exactly, you're ready.
it could be anything, right? Like
It'd be anything, yeah.
backup suppliers,
Yeah.
budget adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
if things get more expensive than you thought.
Absolutely. It's about building flexibility into your plan.
So you can adapt
Adapt and pivot.
when needed.
Yeah. And that's where understanding your target audience comes back into play.
Right, because if you know your audience really well,
Yeah.
you can kind of anticipate how they might react to certain things.
Exactly. And adjust your approach accordingly.
All right, let's talk about target audiences.
Okay.
Because Gary seems to think that really understanding your customer is crucial.
He's adamant about it.
Yeah.
It's not just about basic demographics. It's about going deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah, understanding their behavior, their motivations, their pain points.
So like what makes them pick?
Exactly. What do they need? What do they aspire to?
And this informs every decision you make about the campaign, right?
Every decision.
From the messaging to the channels you use.
Yeah, the visuals, the tone, everything.
Mila, let's circle back to the target audience.
For sure.
It feels like everything revolves around them, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They're the heart of your campaign. Every message you craft should resonate with them.
Right.
This is where all that research we talked about really becomes crucial.
Makes sense.
You need to know who you're talking to, what makes them tick, and where they hang out, online and offline.
Right. So like painting a full picture of them.
Exactly. It's like building a house. You wouldn't start building without knowing who's going to live there, right?
I like that analogy.
The same goes for campaigns. Understanding your target audience, that's the foundation.
Right. And speaking of getting people on board, Gary also talks about incentivizing your own team
He does.
to get them excited about the campaign.
It's this interesting perspective on eligibility.
Okay.
It's not just about the customers, it's about your internal team as well.
Right, because if your team isn't excited about it, how can you expect your customers to be?
Exactly. You want them to be your brand ambassadors.
Okay,
They're the ones on the front lines, talking to customers, representing the campaign.
what kind of incentives does he suggest?
Things like sales commissions,
Mm-hmm.
bonuses, or even non-monetary rewards like recognition or professional development opportunities.
So aligning their personal goals with the goals of the campaign?
Yeah, it's about creating a win-win situation
Where everyone feels valued?
and motivated to contribute.
Okay, I'm starting to see the big picture here.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
So that's a lot to take in.
It is.
We've talked about purpose, goals, smart objectives, research, time frame,
Yeah.
contingency planning, target audiences, incentives,
It's all connected.
and it all seems to tie back to this idea of the secret sauce.
It does, but we're just getting started.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more to uncover.
Okay, well, I'm intrigued. We're going to have to dive into that in the next part.
He will.
Because I want to know what this secret sauce is all about.
We're getting closer.
All right, well, stay tuned for part 2. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Your Next Step, Pulse Forward podcast. Interested to get all the tools, guides, and samples? Please visit the article in LinkedIn. In the description includes the link where to get all the materials, all the tools, templates, blueprints, guides for free by following the link. Add my LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter or X accounts in your feeds to get more stories, guides, relevant articles, new trends, leadership, updated news, and useful tips. Check out my LinkedIn profile and follow my curated posts and articles. Learn more about marketing, branding, communications, operations, and other tips, tools, and strategies. Looking forward to connect with you. Add, subscribe, or follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X or Twitter. Please don't forget to like and share this podcast to everyone you know in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or X, or other social media or content sites to learn about this topic, how to create a great campaign. All right. Let's listen into part 2 of the discussion.
All right, so we left off talking about the secret sauce.
Yeah, that's right.
But before we get to that,
Mm-hmm.
we got to lay the groundwork.
Okay, the foundation.
Exactly, and that starts with a solid action plan.
So this is where we move from the big ideas to the actual, doing stuff.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so Gary breaks this action plan down into a few key areas.
He does. He talks about the activities you need to do,
Okay,
who's responsible for what.
like assigning tasks to the team.
Yeah, deadlines, of course, got to keep everyone on track.
Right.
And then the tools and resources you'll need.
He even mentions things like, budget allocation, media planning.
Yeah, he goes into a lot of detail.
It's pretty comprehensive.
It is, but it can be a bit overwhelming, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts.
That's where a framework like the AIDA method can be helpful.
AIDA, remind me what that stands for again?
Attention, interest, desire, action.
Okay, I vaguely remember that. Okay,
It can be a helpful framework.
okay, tell me more.
It's about guiding your audience through a journey.
Okay,
First, you get their attention, and maybe with a visual or a question.
got it.
Then pique their interest,
Yeah,
give them a reason to learn more,
okay,
then create desire, make them want what you're offering,
okay.
and finally inspire action.
Like that call to action.
Exactly. Encourage them to do something. Make a purchase, sign up, visit your website.
It's brilliant. It's like you're giving them a little nudge at each step.
Right.
I can see how that would make a more impactful campaign.
And a more focused one. It's about guiding your audience through a journey.
A journey, okay.
Yeah, from that initial spark of interest all the way to them taking the action you want them to take.
So it's like a roadmap for the customer.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say we're launching that line of sustainable clothing we talked about earlier.
All right, good example.
How would we use AIDA to make that campaign successful?
So first, you got to grab their attention.
That's the A.
Right, so maybe some eye-catching social media posts.
Okay, something that makes them stop scroll.
Yeah, something bold, visually appealing.
Then we need to pique their interest, right?
That's the...
Right.
So maybe share some engaging content.
Okay, like what?
Behind-the-scenes videos about your sustainable practices.
Showing how you're actually making a difference.
Exactly. Or partner with influencers who are passionate about eco-friendly fashion.
People they already trust and admire.
Yeah, so now they're interested, but how do we make them actually want these clothes?
That's D, desire.
Right, you got to highlight the benefits.
Okay, like what kind of benefits?
The quality of the materials, the unique designs, the fact that it's ethically produced.
Make them think, I need this in my life.
Exactly, create that desire.
All right, and then finally, make it easy for them to buy.
That's the A, action.
Okay, how do we do that?
Limited time discounts, free shipping,
Nice.
maybe even partner with a charity.
So a portion of each sale goes to a good cause.
Yeah, something that aligns with their values.
I like that. It's all very strategic.
It is, and it keeps the focus on the customer.
Which is what it's all about,
At
right?
the end of the day, yeah.
Okay, but let's be realistic. Even with the best plan, things don't always go smoothly.
That's true, especially when it comes to budget.
Right.
Chick.
Okay.
The article talks about transparency in budget spending.
Okay.
You need to know where your money is going.
To maximize that ROI.
Exactly. Setting a budget isn't about limiting spending.
It's not.
It's about making informed choices about where to put your resources.
To get the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
So it's not about being cheap.
Right.
It's about being smart.
It is.
Because money matters.
It does. And Gary stresses the importance of a comprehensive budget.
Not just for the obvious costs, but also for those unexpected hiccups we talked about.
Yeah, that contingency fund.
Got to be prepared.
Absolutely, because things happen.
Costs go up, plans change.
Having that buffer can be a lifesaver.
Literally.
It's about being realistic, you know?
Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly. And even with a solid budget, you still got to track your spending.
Make sure you're not going overboard.
Right. Gary recommends comparing your actual expenses to your initial projections.
So you can make adjustments as needed.
Yeah, stay on top of things.
Okay, so we have our budget and our action plan.
Yeah.
But how does it actually all work?
Right to the mechanics.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
The mechanics are about how all the pieces fit together.
Okay. Campaign.
All right. This is where we map out how everything works together.
So it's like creating a flow chart showing each step of the process.
Yeah, a detailed roadmap.
And Gary suggests looking at it from the customer's perspective.
He does. Put yourself in their shoes.
So imagine you're the customer. What do you see? What do you do?
Where are the potential roadblocks, the pain points?
And by walking through that journey,
Mm-hmm.
you can identify any areas that need improvement.
Exactly. Make sure it's a smooth and enjoyable experience.
Okay, so everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Everyone needs to understand how the campaign works
What their role is.
and how they contribute to the big picture.
It's like giving everyone a user manual for the campaign.
That's a great way to put it.
But then comes the exciting part, putting it all into action. Okay, so we've got our plan. We've mapped out the mechanics.
Now it's time for implementation.
This is where it all comes together.
The rubber meets the road.
What does Gary say about this stage?
He stresses clear communication and coordination.
Within the team, right?
Yeah, everyone needs to be on the same page.
So regular check-ins, progress reports.
Absolutely. Keep everyone informed.
Okay.
The article gives some great examples of different stages of implementation.
Like what?
Pre-selling activities, during selling activities, post-selling activities.
So like before, during, and after the main campaign.
Exactly. Like generating buzz-running promotions, gathering feedback.
Wow. It's like a whole life cycle.
It is.
I loved that tip about using info cards to support the team.
Oh, yeah. Those can be so helpful.
Yeah.
It's like a cheat sheet.
Right. Making sure everyone has the info they need.
Exactly. And the article also talks about incentives.
For the team?
For the team and for the customers.
I love incentives.
Do too.
They're like little rewards.
To keep people motivated.
But how do you choose the right incentives?
Good question. You need to align them with your campaign goals and target audience. For your team, it might be bonuses or recognition.
Right.
For customers, it could be discounts or exclusive content.
It's about finding what works for each group.
Exactly. The article has some examples, like rewarding sales teams for hitting targets or giving discounts to customers who engage with the campaign.
Right. Finding those sweet spots.
Exactly. Making people feel valued.
Incentives.
Oh, yeah. Got to keep the team motivated.
And the customers, too.
Right. Offer them something that makes them want to participate.
Speaking of incentives, why does Gary think they're so important?
He believes they tap into a powerful psychological driver, motivation.
Motivation. Okay.
For your team, incentives can boost morale, encourage engagement,
And ultimately drive those sales numbers.
Exactly. And for customers,
Mm-hmm.
incentives create a sense of urgency,
Okay.
reward their loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, encourage them to buy.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah, where the incentive is both appealing to the customer.
And strategically aligned with your campaign goals.
Exactly. Dude.
I think we found our own sweet spot today.
I think we have.
We've unpacked so much about campaigns.
From start to finish?
Purpose goals, implementation incentives.
And everything in between. Exactly.
All right, we've been circling around this secret sauce all this time.
I know, it's time for the big reveal.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
But first, let's recap what we've covered in this part.
Okay, so we talked about the action plan, the ADA framework, budgeting, the mechanics of the campaign, and the importance of incentives.
All of these elements are important.
They're the foundation.
Exactly. But there's one more ingredient.
The secret sauce.
The secret sauce, the thing that separates good campaigns from great ones.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
Drum roll, please.
It's engagement.
Engagement?
Yeah, but not just any kind of engagement. Okay, what kind of engagement?
It's about creating meaningful interactions.
With your team and your audience.
Exactly, both internal and external engagement.
I have to admit, I was expecting something a little more complex.
Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful.
But how do you actually cultivate this kind of engagement?
That's where Gary's article comes in.
Okay, so we got to read the article.
We've got to read the article. He goes into a lot of detail.
All right, fine. But before we wrap up, let's touch on evaluating the results.
Yeah. How do we know if the campaign was successful?
Gary talks about setting projected outcomes.
Before the campaign ends, right?
Right, so you have benchmarks to measure against.
Exactly. And then you analyze the data.
Data. Okay.
Sales figures, website traffic, social media engagement, customer feedback.
So it's not just about the numbers themselves. It's about understanding what they mean.
Yeah. Why did you achieve or fall short of your goals?
It's all about learning and improving.
For your next campaign.
So we're constantly iterating, refining our approach.
Exactly. Always striving for better engagement.
All right, well, this has been a lot to take in.
It has.
But I think we've gotten a really good grasp of Gary's framework.
We've laid the groundwork.
And we've got this whole engagement thing to explore further.
I'm excited to dive deeper into that.
Me too. So let's pick up where we left off in the next part.
Sounds
You are now listening to Your Next Step, Pulse Forward podcast. Interested to get all the tools, guides, and samples? Please visit the article in LinkedIn for free. Check out my LinkedIn profile and follow my curated posts and articles. Learn more about marketing, branding, communications, operations, and other tips, tools, and strategies. Add, subscribe, share, or follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X or Twitter. Please don't forget to like and share this podcast to everyone you know in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or X, or other social media or content sites to learn about this interesting topic. All right, let's listen into part 3 of the discussion talking about the details of the secret sauce.
good.
All right, so we're back, and we're ready to unpack this whole engagement thing.
Yeah, it's more than just a buzzword.
Right, it's Gary's secret sauce, apparently.
It is, and he has a very specific way of looking at it.
Okay, so how does he define engagement in the context of a campaign?
Well, he sees it as like a philosophy almost.
A philosophy, okay.
Yeah, it's not just a tactic. It's something that should be woven into every aspect of the campaign.
So it's like a mindset, a way of thinking.
Exactly, and it starts internally with your team.
Okay, so internal engagement first.
Yeah, got to get your own people excited about it.
Because if they're not passionate about it...
It's not going to translate to the customers.
Right, it's all about authenticity.
Yeah, so Gary suggests things like, team meetings.
Okay, to get everyone on the same page.
Explain the goals, the mechanics of the campaign.
Clear communication is key.
Absolutely. And then keep them in the loop.
Regular updates, progress reports.
Yeah, and of course, incentives.
We talked about that.
Got to keep them motivated.
So it's about making sure your team feels valued.
Yeah, heard and empowered to contribute.
Like they're part of something important.
Exactly. And he also talks about giving them the tools they need.
Okay, like what kind of tools?
Product knowledge training, for example.
So they can really talk about it with confidence.
Yeah, cue cards with key talking points.
Okay, so they're not fumbling for words.
And even access to customer feedback and data.
So they can see how their efforts are actually making a difference.
Yeah, give them that sense of ownership.
But internal engagement is just the first step, right?
Right. Then we move on to the customer.
The external engagement.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting.
This is where the magic happens.
It is. It's about turning those customers
From passive observant.
to active participants.
I like that.
Yeah. So Gary's a big advocate for a customer-centric approach.
Meaning
You start by understanding your audience
their needs, their motivation.
through pain points, and then you tailor your message to address those things.
So it's not just about broadcasting a message.
No, it's about having a conversation.
A two-way street.
Exactly. You listen to your audience.
You respond to their feedback.
You make them feel heard.
It's about building a relationship.
Yeah, and that takes more than just traditional marketing tactics.
Okay, so what are some of the things Gary suggests
He likes interactive social media contests.
to get people talking?
Yeah, sharing, creating buzz.
Personalized email campaigns.
Yeah, speaking directly to the individual.
Showing that you know them.
And influencer partnership.
People who already have that connection with your target audience.
Exactly. It's all about finding creative ways to connect on a deeper level.
Because when you do that,
You build trust,
loyalty.
and ultimately, that leads to long-term success.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have. It's been a deep dive.
It really has. And I feel like I have a much better understanding of what goes into a truly successful campaign.
It's more than just the surface level stuff.
Right. It's about the strategy, the planning, the execution,
And of course, the engagement.
the secret sauce.
The secret sauce. Gary's guide is a great starting point.
It is. But like you said, every campaign is unique.
Yeah, what works for one might not work for another.
So it's about taking these principles,
And adapting them to your own specific situation.
finding your own secret sauce
Exactly, the blend of creativity and strategy that works for you.
and your audience.
And remember, the world of marketing is always changing.
It's true. You got to stay on top of the trends.
Be willing to experiment.
Never stop learning.
That's the key.
So to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to embrace the power of engagement.
It really is the secret sauce.
Think outside the box. Don't be afraid to try new things.
And most importantly, build those genuine connections.
Because that's what it's all about in the end.
It is. And on that note,
Yeah.
I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have, but the conversation doesn't have to end here.
Right.
If you have any thoughts, any questions,
We'd love to hear from you.
so reach out. Let us know what you think.
And until next time,
Keep diving deep.
and keep those creative juices flowing.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.
Thank you for listening on How to Make a Great Campaign. Remember, in the description includes the link where you can get all the materials, all the tools, templates, blueprints, guides for free. Just follow the link. This is Your Next Step, Pulse Forward podcast. Check out my LinkedIn profile and follow my curated posts and articles. Learn more about marketing, branding, communications, operations, and other tips, tools, and strategies. Looking forward to connect with you. Add, subscribe, or follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X or Twitter. Please don't forget to like and share this podcast to everyone you know in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or X or other social media sites to learn about this topic, how to create a great campaign. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.